Hey, what's up guys? Mike Red Fox. In this video, we're gonna attempt a 12 card RTX 3070 GPU mining rig build. All right, before we get going, this video is brought to you by GPU risers. They are the best risers I've ever used, and I've used quite a bit. That's what we'll be using in this build. Link is in the description below for GPU risers. So here's the plan. I have 6 RTX 3070s right there, and I already have an RTX 3070 build here, which has 6 GPUs. So I want to add those GPUs to this build instead of building another one. And in here I have 2 EVGA XC3 Ultras, 2 gigabytes, can't remember what kind, and 2 Founders Editions 3070s. And they're all connected to my favorite motherboard, is a ASRock H110 Pro BTC that has spots for 13 GPUs on it. And so what I'm gonna do, at least planning to do, I don't know if it's gonna work, is add these cards to that rig, which means I'll need more power. It's got some server power supplies ready to go, and I'll need some risers, so we got the GPUrisers.com risers ready to go. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get this rig out of here, get it up on the bench, get it on top of this other frame that I have, and start figuring this out. So let me get the camera set up and we'll get going. All right, here we go. So I got the current 3070 rig out of the grow tent, and now I gotta figure out how I wanna do all this. What I think I wanna do is stack this onto here, have cards below, then the motherboard, and then cards on top. And it should be long enough with all the PCIe risers and stuff to reach. So let me get that set up first. I'm gonna get these stacked, and then we'll be able to start figuring out the layout of all of this. Didn't really think about how you wouldn't be able to see me, but I'm not that important. This is what's important. Let me make some room here. All right, so these are stacked up now, and I think what I want to do next is get the GPU slotted, get them all connected, and then we'll really figure out the power situation, which I feel like it's going to be a little tricky, but we'll talk more about that when we get there. For now, let me slide this over, and we'll start connecting some GPUs down here. I'm gonna have to probably adjust the height of the support bar. And one thing I know I'm already gonna have to do, this Zotac Twin Edge is a really short card. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but on this bottom, it's gonna come up too short from the support bar. On this top, I flipped it when I built it, and I should have just did it on the bottom one. I'm not really sure why I didn't. It's too late now. I flipped the support bar so the riser could rest on it. I did not do that on this one. So what I think I'm gonna do is just make sure the Zotac card is on top here, which means I'll move 1 or 2 GPUs around. I'll probably put the gigabytes down below. Those are pretty long cards. So let's start doing that. I'm gonna throw then the other EVGA up here. So those will look real good. And then I'm gonna put the Zotac here, and then everything else will go down below. I guess this is the PSUs dual. It's a pretty short card too. Let me make sure that that's gonna fit down there. Yeah, that'll hit it. All right, so we're gonna be in good shape. So just that Zotac is the only one. I highly recommend, if you build these Veta frames, don't follow the instructions and do what I did on this top one and flip the support bar over so that your riser can rest directly on it. Just is way more secure that way. And if you're changing out cards and you got shorter cards, it'll just work out better that way for you in the long run. So let's do this. Let's get these off, and let's get these crappy risers out of here and get some GPUrisers.com risers going. I'll show you those in a second. So I'm going to take these 2 GB cards off. So let's do that. It's off. As you can tell, it's pretty dirty already. Ugh. Okay, so that one's gonna go down here. So might as well get that chilling. That card is really dirty. Okay. All right, got the gigabyte cards in. Now we're gonna, let's switch out some risers here. So these are from GPU risers. Here's a look at the riser. Nice white edition, and it's got this tab pull down and release for the PCIe slot, which is much better than this. This is what I've been dealing with for years. Is this thing on these U-bit risers, you can never get your finger in there. So, much needed upgrade. You can see what I used to use. That's what I'll be using now. GPUrisers.com. All right, so let's get this riser connected up top here. And we'll talk more about this when I get to the power, but the way I power risers is off PCIe because it's the safest way. And I split a 6-pin PCIe to power 2 risers. That's what I had set up on this rig, and that's what I will have set up on this potential 12-card rig. So I'm gonna get all these risers switched out, and then we'll come back and add some more cards. All right, I got the risers swapped out up on the top, so now we're gonna do some card placement. So I've already decided that I'm gonna add the other EVGA XC3 Ultra right next to its buddies up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that slotted in right up top. And then next to it, I'm gonna add in that short Zotac card. So that's gonna go right here. Look how tall this card is. It's like almost taller than the frame. What a weird card. Zotac. All right, let's figure out card placement on the bottom. I really don't think there's any rhyme or reason to this. So I'll say that the ones that are probably going to have the best coolers are going to be the Strix for sure, not this Ventus. This thing, I have another Ventus card. I think it's that 3060 Ti. It is awful. Thing runs so hot. Gigabyte Vision 3070. ASUS Dual. The beautiful Strix. All right, GPUs are in. So now I want to get all the risers hooked up for the GPUs down here. Make sure the lengths are gonna be good to reach up to this motherboard. All right, so it like just kind of reaches. You probably can't see it in the video. I'll show you during the walkthrough, but it looks silly. I'm gonna have to see if I have another longer USB cable. This will work, but that cable's like flexing and stuff, so I don't like it. We'll do the rest and we'll come back to that one. See if we have any other problematic risers here. So let me get all the rest of these going and we'll check back. All right, let's talk about power. This is tricky. And there's gonna be a lot of different opinions out there on this. And I'm just gonna tell you what I'm thinking of. I'm kind of just gonna talk out loud about it. So a couple of things are going through my mind. One, I'm gonna need a lot of power to drive this. I had 2 1000 watt EVGA power supplies on here just doing the 6 cards. Now I have plenty of server power supplies. Got 2 right here. These will run 900 watts on 110, but I'll be running this on a 30 amp to 40 volt circuit, so they'll run 1200 watts. And what you want to do is, for any continuous load on electricity, is run it about 80%, so that if there's any spikes, that you're not going to blow your power supply. So if we do 80% of the 1200 watts I can run this at, that means that there's 960 watts that I can put on one of these server power supplies. Now, each of these 3070s ran at full TDP. If you ran a max, would run at 225 watts each. So on one hand, they'll probably run 120 to 130 watts each power limited while I mine Ethereum, which then gives me a lot more flexibility for how many cards I can put on a PSU. Now, the safest way to do this is to just plan for the full max these cards might draw, which is 225. Because if your overclocks ever reset, especially if you use Windows, really unlikely in HiveOS, in my opinion. If you run Windows and the overclocks reset and all of a sudden these things are running full blast to 225, you want to make sure you're set up in a place where your power supply can handle that. Then also all of your splitters and cabling can handle that as well, which I always do all of my cables, splitters, risers are all powered over PCIe to take into account if this ever ran full max TDP. The other thing I'm thinking about is, while these are going to be power limited for sure, mining Ethereum, we all know that Ethereum is going to go proof of stake either end of this year or sometime next year. And it seems like one of the cryptocurrencies that is going to be the fallback is Ravencoin. And one of the things I know about Ravencoin is that uses a lot of power. And the 3080 Ti's, 3070 Ti's I've been testing, you run it full power, and that's the most efficient it is. Anytime you start power limiting it, you're going to lose out on efficiency. I haven't tested the 3070s yet, but also my mind is planning for, do I want to be refiguring out my power supply setup here when that time comes, or do I just want to be able to switch over to Raven and know that all this is safe? If we were going to plan for full max TDP, that means for 960 watts, one of these could run. We'll divide that by 225. I can put 4 3070s on one of these. That takes into account the 80% rule. That takes into account these running full blast. If I took into account the power limit with the 80% rule, I could put 7 of these cards on one of these. So you can see where it gets tricky, because you want to be safe. That's the driving force here. But now, like, the more of these I add, the more heat that's going to be generated for sure in my grow tent over there. So here's what I think I'm going to do. So 960 divided by 225. What if I did 5 cards on one of these at 225? That would give me 1,125 if this ran full. Now, it's not taking into account the 80% rule, but I think I'm okay making that calculated risk right now, since these will definitely be power limited and they're server power supplies. So these are really, really good, meant to be running 24/7. So that's the decision I'm going to make for myself, is I'm going to put 5 GPUs on each of these, so that'll be 10 total, and then I'll put the final 2 on a power supply. I'll just leave the 1000 watt here along with the motherboard and its components. All right, so what I wound up doing is actually swapping it out. That was a 1000 watt EVGA, but I swapped it out for a 650, which is going to be fine because I'm only going to run 2 GPUs off it in the motherboard, which is around 550 watts, and this is a 650, so why waste 1000 watt? I will absolutely be needing that in some builds I have coming up. So, time for server power supplies. So if you haven't seen these before, that's a server power supply, and then it comes with a breakout board, or you have to order it separately depending where you get it from. These are from Parallel Miner. which I highly recommend. So pretty straightforward. You're going to connect breakout board to the server power supply, and you got your standard power in the back there. And then what you have here is you have PCIe. These are all 6-pin. The other end will be 8-pin. And then you have Molex, which you can use from your ATX power supply to trip this server power supply to turn on when you power on your ATX power supply. It also has these little sensor cables here where you can link multiple server power supplies together. Definitely the way to go. The efficiency on this beats a gold ATX power supply, which is what I'm using in there for just the 2 cards. And what you get is just a heck of a lot of these. So this one, for example, is going to go in to the breakout board. On the other end, you have your 6 plus 2-pin connection. These are great cables, really high quality, the right gauge you need for all this type of stuff. So what I'm gonna do is you can, I mean, this has a ton of PCIe. You can probably wire every single 6 and 8-pin plug on a GPU with this, and the risers all with separate strands. That's gonna be a mess. So what I like to use instead is splitters. And this is what I'll do for the risers and probably the GPUs as well. Any of them that have a dual 8 or 6 pin on top, which the 3070s, so they all do. So what I'm gonna do is just split a single one of these coming out of the server power supply into 2. And that'll be totally safe for what I am doing and what these cables are rated for. So really simple. I'm gonna take server power supply. I'm just gonna lay them on the bottom here. That's the one thing about these like Theta style frame racks, is there's no place for these to really hang out. Luckily I have a little more wiggle room since I'm not putting a motherboard or anything else on the bottom. But I'm gonna get all these connected, and what I'm gonna do is really just, you're not gonna be able to see me very well, but take this, connect it to the breakout board, which you saw me do before. And now that it's split into 2, what I'm gonna do first is power all of the risers. And so that means I can do 2 risers off of one of these. So I'm gonna get all that hooked up, and then I'll check back in. And at the end of all this, I'll do a close-up walkthrough so you can see how everything's connected. All right, that was a lot of work, but I got this thing all wired up. I don't think I missed anything. Let me turn it around so you guys can see it. All right, let's take a look. So it looks like a mess, but this is 2 server power supplies down on the bottom with their breakout boards. And all the yellow and black cables are coming right from there. And then any of these orange and black are the splitters that I showed earlier. I have those split in the risers on everything, and then I have them split in some GPUs, and I could do all of them. I didn't want to run out of splitters because I'm going to need them soon. So next thing I want to do is get these power supplies linked up, and I think what I'm going to try is I'm going to do Molex from the ATX PSU to one of them, and then I'm going to try this Sense cable that they gave me from Parallel Miner, and plug the 2 power supplies into each other, hoping that ATX flips on one server power supply, which then tells the other server power supply to turn on, and that way we'll be good. All right, there it is. Let's go take a look around. I think I got everything done on this rig, 12 by 3070 rig. Figure we'll take a close-up look. Everything I've done on this rig here. All right, so You guys saw all the GPUs, so we're not going to go through all of those again, but see the motherboard here. I'm using every slot except one. A little nervous because of how close they are. You can see they're touching. I know there's been reports of them shorting themselves out, and just some electrical tape will fix that. So we'll see what happens there. And then the two server power supplies down on the bottom, which honestly, because there's no motherboard or anything down here, feel stable enough to me. So let's take a look around the back. All right, here's the back, pretty messy, but you can see all the cables coming down from the power plugs on top of the GPU, as well as the risers down in there. And I got them all tied up. And they're all coming down to those breakout boards on the server power supplies. And then this is that, I think I got it hooked up right. This cable is down here. This is that Sense cable. Can't really see it, but it connects to the breakout board down inside there from each one. And then I connected that Molex cable, which you can see maybe right there. And that goes to the power supply, ATX power supply up there. So the thought is essentially power this on, which should then power this on, which should then power this on, all really, really fast, so that all the GPUs are recognized by their motherboard. All right, next step is to get this thing plugged in, and I can't do it up here because there's too much wattage that would just blow one of my circuits if this thing ran all the way. So I'm gonna move it over to my grow tent area here, which has a PDU on the outside there, and we'll see if this works. I really hope it does, because it's gonna be really annoying to have to work with it in here. And ideally, I need to stack it on top of that AMD rig. And one thing I really didn't consider was this thing is gonna be super heavy. And I gotta get this Veta frame on 3 corners stacked up on these little posts that you see there. So I'm gonna do that off camera, so wish me luck. And then we'll fire this thing up together and see what kind of explosions happen. All right, it's in the tent. It was not easy lifting that. Oh my gosh. All right, so there's the 12 by RAID that we just built. And I had to take my 1660 Ti rig out of there just to give me some room. I guess I should have bought a bigger tent. All right, but this is it. Let's fire it up here and see what we get. So I'm hitting the power button on the ATX power supply. All right, first row, we got fans, lights. We got lights on all the GPU risers.com risers. Second row, behind all this cabling, we got lights, fans are spinning. I think we're looking good. I think everything's looking good. Let's take a look at the display. Oh, that's good. We did it. 12 RTX 3070s in Windows on a single mining motherboard. There they all are. Here they all are, hashing in T-Rex miner. This rig is pulling just about 750 mega hash total at 1,454 watts. It is a monster. This is the most GPUs I ever put on a single rig. I am super stoked on this build. This looks awesome. It's hashing awesome, all on a single motherboard. It's the first time I did something new for a while in mining, and it just was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and hit subscribe if you want to check out more GPU mining content that I put up. Join my Discord if you want to chat. And take care of yourself Take care of each other, and I will see you guys in the next video.